Hey Chuco, how are you?
You all made it, huh?
Hey man, I'm sorry I forgot about the
It's all good, Holmes. It's all good. Uh,
about that.
you know how I am, homie. Technology is not a real feeding friend of mine either. So don't even trip, Holmes. Here we are, llegamos.
Right on, man. Um, let's see here. I'm trying to put the picture up, but it ain't working out. So we'll just that black screen's cool, I guess.
Yeah, just I'm not worried, Holmes. As long as Rasa can hear me, I think we're good and golden.
Right on, man. And I
All
and
right.
I think that we Rasa can hear you, and I think that we're all good, man. So
Okay.
first and foremost, I wanted to thank you for being here with us. You know, I know you're a family man, and you like your time with you love your family, and you love your time with your family and with Amber. And you know, I just really appreciate you taking an hour out of your day for us, man. So that means a lot to me.
Yeah, man. No sweat, Holmes. Me and you. Hey, Holmes. Looks like you're fighting with your family right now. Don't trip. Look, the thing is that when it comes to opportunities and things like this, I say no to a lot more things than most. But usually those are like corporate style or bigger baller style or more like I don't know, heavy exposure type gigs. But when it comes to Brown Brothers and Rasa and Sisters and Brothers, man, I'm always down because that's my heart. That's where I'm at. You know what I mean? And regardless of where I'm at in my life professionally or what people might perceive on the interweb, the fact is, Holmes, is that I'm just another vato like everybody else, man. I love lowriders. I love my gente. And I'm always down to try and help out. So, like, when I get a invitation from somebody that comes from my community, I more than likely will always say yes. You know what I mean?
Right on, man. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So let me ask you. I mean, given the COVID-19 situation, are you all healthy and safe?
Yeah, Simone, 100%, man. I'm blessed and very grateful. I eat really clean and healthy. Amber takes really good care of that into my life. And then, I stay fit. I work out every day. Well, I give it a good 5 or 6 days a week. I may take off Sunday, but I'm fit, healthy, and happy, man. I'm not tattooing, which is, it's different. That's a different vibe. But um, other than that, I'm still actually producing more artwork, Holmes, in the last couple of months uh, than I did in comparison to some of the years in my career. There were some years that I produced real heavy, and there were some years that I did okay. But I'm just looking at the scope of what I put out since this Torcido, and I'm happy, Holmes. I'm stoked because uh, there's always two ways to look at the paleta, Holmes. It's like, it's either half gone or you got half left. And I'm the type of cat that I do my best, Holmes. I'm human. I never want people to think that I'm perfect or I'm trying to be perfect, but I do strive to be a good person and be solid, Holmes, and positive, which is a struggle. But I give it my best go. So when I realized that this thing was going down, um, I had originally heard about it before a lot of people that I was surrounded by. My good friend and little brother Hob DeLuna, he had a Japan tattoo trip planned for January. So he's gearing up, getting ready to leave and go overseas. But he's in contact with the Asians over there, Holmes. And so the gente over there were letting him know, hey, something's going on. So he starts diving into it on the interweb and checking it all out. And he realized that this is a real deal thing. This is coming our way. So he was kind of like telling folks close to him, hey, man, I've stumbled on this thing and it's headed our way. So I don't want to say that I knew before anybody, but I had a heavy heads up, and I'm also in pretty solid contact with friends and close business associates from Europe and around the globe. So when this thing was kicking off in other parts of the planet, I was catching wind of it early on. So I insulated myself and the fam fairly quick because, when it comes down to it, it's like somebody who maybe throws you a threat, Holmes, or maybe tries to insinuate they may do something. Always been the type of author that I take that very seriously because my family, our well-being, our health, and our happiness. That's like my ultimate, that's my ultimate gig, is to preserve, protect that. So when I heard about this, I made arrangements early on to be kind of isolated and go ahead and start kicking off the lockdown within my Moreno family,
Nice. Well, man, you and I haven't hung out in a long time, man. I mean, I can't remember the last time we just hung out where I wasn't getting my back worked on. So
Yeah.
it's good to just have some time to just chop it up, because it's been a long time since we've done this, man. So let's just get into some questions. I always think about what would be, interesting to talk about. And, the things that you and I always talk about have to do with culture, Chicanismo, carnalismo, cars, lowriders, family. So the way I see this going, man, is just you and I talking like we always talk, and there just happen to be people like, checking it out. So, the fact that, this is May 1st, and, who better to kick off the beginning of May with than you. So,
Gracias.
This is for all practical purposes and the real deal, Cinco de Mayo weekend, man. So,
Simon.
what does Cinco de Mayo mean to you within the scope of, a Chicano man?
Yeah, right on. So, good question. So for me, man, it's like, I didn't grow up experiencing those types of, national holidays, like the outside world. Those are special days. I like that cup you're drinking out of, Holmes, by the way.
100% tattoo.
Simón, que sí, siempre. So anyways, as I was saying, those days have been special to me since boyhood. And, it's not just a day to get all pedo and act foolish. It's a day of remembrance, you know what I mean? And a homage of respect needed paid. So I do enjoy myself. I do usually associate and I do fraternize and hang out with my close pals and peers and in my inner circle. But I'm also in the back of my mind, it's like Dia de los Muertos or Dia de la Madre or some of these days that are like, they're globally recognized now as like, hey, crack the bottle and let's get twisted, which is great. That's fine, Holmes, each their own. And I myself, I have some pistos and I enjoy myself. I eat really good food. And I hang out with the people that I care and love about. But there is a deeper meaning and sentiment behind those types of holidays. So for me, I always try and keep that in mind while I'm there hanging out with the fellas.
Right on. We all got sidelined this year in a number of events, and I know that Chicano Park Day means a lot to you and your family. We
Yes.
would bump into each other down there.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about that, about not being able to partake in that this year, man.
So that was a sore one, Holmes, because you're right, 100% correct. I mean, I absolutely I love that festivity in that day, man. And I usually bring the whole family out if I'm capable of doing that. So annually, I try and make sure that I'm down there, Holmes, with my loved ones and my children and my wife, to see you all. I love bumping into you when I'm down there, and so many other beautiful raza, Holmes. Like that's the reason I go, is because a dude like me, Holmes. I mean, I'm type vato that there's 365, right? Every year comes around. Well, many more than most of those days, you can find me with my head down, getting busy, Holmes, grinding in one fashion or another. So it's a real treat for me on days like that to roll out there, get cleaned up real nice, get the 53 shine, Holmes, and get my old lady under my right arm and cruise down there to SD. And last year I actually missed it because of other obligations that I have. I missed it because I was really heavy and engaged in Honor Farm, and also I had just flown back from Chicago. I had an art show days before the event, so I would have really had to pull off a magic trick, Holmes, to make it down there. I would have literally flew from like Chicago straight to SD, spent a few hours down there with you all, and then had to jump back on a plane and get back up here to finish doing what I was doing. So this year, I was really thirsty to go, Holmes. You know, I was really excited. Amber and I had talked a lot about it, and as you know, and people that are close to me, I go the day before, and I always stay at the same hotel right there in the Vadio, Holmes, right there in Logan. And the night before, you can catch me cruising around, striking around with my woman, Holmes, and a tall can of beer. And I go and I watch the blessing at night, and I myself and Amber get blessed. And I just like to feel the energy in the air the night before because, you know, the ancestors are there that night, Holmes, and in preparation for the festival the next day. So I get a whole lot of energy, Holmes, and inspiration out of that time during that festival, before, during, and after. So when this thing happened, Holmes, and we all got grounded, I knew that it wasn't going to go down. And yeah, I took a second, Holmes, and was a little bit bummed on that. But as I said before, Holmes, there's always two ways to check it out. You know what I mean? So I immediately thought after that, I thought, you know what, Chuco, check it out, Holmes. What that really does is it amplifies next year's event. You see what I mean? Because not only is it another year to be celebrated, but this was the 50, right?
Yep.
So that's big, Holmes. You know, like your abuelos or your parents, when they hit the 50th anniversary of their marriage and stuff like that, that's a big thing, Holmes. It's a cause for celebration. It's a cause for people to come together. And so I kind of do believe in my heart that because of this unique set of circumstances, that next year's turnout will probably be one of the greatest ones ever. And look for me in the crowd, Holmes. I'll be there, me and my clan.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's such an important day for us and our family because, you know, it's so all encompassing in terms of what is there. I mean, you have it, you know, the danza azteca, corridos, baile folklorico, you know, the cars, the gente, families, children, you know, it's all there. And it's such a beautiful vibe, you know, and there's no BS. Everybody's cool and coming together in the spirit of Chicanismo, pride, and celebrating the park and the history associated with that park, man. There's nothing like it, man. Nothing.
You're right, Holmes. There is nothing like that. The first time that I got to go, because I mean, since I was a youngster, I've been aware of that event and had never went. So the very first time that I actually did go down there and experienced it, it blew my socks off, Holmes. It was real. It was a real thing that to this day that I remember clearly. And it was like a real bucket list type thing, you know. And so when I got to go down there and I got to see the music and the people, the food, the cars, the art, and the brotherhood that was happening, you know, because historically that day, because of the unity and because of all the people who fought so hard to keep that part, you know, and to keep it sacred for what it was set up for, which was community and brotherhood and brown love and stuff like that, Holmes, is so important. You know, later on and in future years, it was one of those situations that was very rare and unique to where it didn't matter, say you didn't like this vato or that guy said something to you the other time when you drove by or whatever. All that got laid to rest on that day, Holmes, and it was a place to come and be Chicano. And to me, I hold a real high level of pride and joy in being Chicano. Like, I remember being a kid, Holmes, and realizing that I was Chicano and I was different than other cultures and ethnicities. And I thought, man, Holmes, I remember one time I was sitting in juvenile hall. This is a real story. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm watching these vatos come rolling through the hallway, a bunch of brown brothers, young dudes. We were in a negative situation, but I remember thinking, man, Holmes, I hit the lottery, bro. Like, I'm Chicano, man. Like, you know, it's like Marvin Gaye speaking on his people. I had that feeling of like, nowhere near superiority or nothing like that. It was just like a grateful, a gratitude and a real pride and happiness and saying, man, look at what I'm a part of, Holmes. The fabric, hey, Holmes, I'm a link in the chain, a spoke in the wheel of such a long list of just charismatic, gifted, artistic, strong people. I mean, our gente goes all the way back to pyramids, Holmes. You know, there's not a lot of people who can say that. See what I mean? You dig it? So
yeah, man. And you know, it's interesting because it's a matter of outlook and how you have that pride instilled in you or not. You know, a lot of the kids that I deal with will come into my office, you know, at my job, and they'll say, I suck at math. You know, like the brown kids, they'll say, I suck at math. And I said, what are you talking about? You're genetically hardwired to be brilliant at science, math, architecture, geometry,
astrology.
Look at what our ancestors built. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And but they've never thought of it like that. They just get stuck in this narrative of I can't, as opposed to look at what our ancestors have done and built and what my potential is as a person, you know?
You know, I think that, you know, here's the thing, Holmes, like, I've always played on my own handball court and kind of walked to my own beat, Holmes. So, I think differently than a lot of heads. And at a young age, I realized that, you know, the way that society's set up, when I was young, Holmes, I had a lot of time to sit in a room and think. And I did just that. I thought a lot about life, about my life, about other people, the roles they play in the building and the continuity of community, you know what I'm saying? And the contribution that people do or don't bring to it. And so I've always really just seen a pretty clear, in my opinion, a pretty clear view, Holmes, of the way things are. And it's like, again, I felt really special and blessed, Holmes, that I was brown and I was standing on the shoulders of so many greats. And you know, it's like this, Holmes, you hit the schoolyard and the classroom, and then you go through, you know, whatever else, maybe some religious situations. And the sad part is sometimes, and a lot more times than most, at the end, by the time you're 10, 11 years old, Holmes, there's a lot of stripping that goes on, like stripping of integrity, stripping of creativity, stripping of like identity. And not to get all wild on that subject, but it's just the truth. It's like everybody, not just brown people, Holmes, every color, every ethnicity, if you're breathing air and you are of the human race, Holmes, you were born special and unique. The trick is, A, to revisit and to remember that, and B, to find out what specifically, why you were brought here and what it was you came to do. I say a lot, you know, get what you came for, Holmes, because every one of us, whether you realize it or not, you came here to do something, Holmes. And if you don't get it done, it's my belief that you're going to come back around again, Holmes, and again. And so I've always kept an eye on that, you know, like what was it? I knew early on that I was an artist, you know, and that's part of my life. But I also, you know, I grew up in a single parent family and household, and there was no father figure to speak of. So when I became a father, it was immediately apparent, it was obvious to me, Holmes, that part of the reason I came here was to learn to be a good father, a great father, the best I could be, and to break that curse in my bloodline. Because as in all families, you know, it's like, whether it's genetically or it's your environmental, there's a lot of things that get passed on to you, and you're not even aware of it. You know what I'm saying? You just come up and people tell you who you are for a lot of your life until you become man enough, or if you ever become strong enough or brave enough to stop and say, wait a minute, I'm going to figure out who I am. It's my job, Holmes. This is my right, my birthright to say who I am, what I believe in, and how I choose to believe in it. You dig? So it's like, I just think that, you know, it's really important for people all over the world, especially brown people. You know, I advocate hard for young brown people. And when I get around them, Holmes, I try and grab their earlobe and be like, look, little brother, check this out. Like, you're very special, Holmes, and you got a lot to, you got a lot that you could be given, not only to yourself, your loved ones, your family, but to the world, man, to the fucking world, Holmes. Spencer, excuse my language, but I'm passionate about that. It's like, it's in you. It's in all of us. Find it at all costs, and then go and never stop, Holmes.
Wow, man, those are powerful words, you know, spoken with eloquence and depth, man. And you know, just hearing you speak on it like that, I can I can see how that translates, that passion and that depth translates into your artwork.
Thank you. You know, art in general. The funny thing is, you know, we touched on a tad bit of the personal side of my life. You know, I didn't grow up with a jefito, and I was vague. I was like, I knew of him. I knew some things about him. One of the things that I did know about him was the Vato was an artist. He tattooed in the neighborhood. He did tattoos on his arm. A matter of fact, the very first tattoo I ever ended up doing was with his machina. I had swiped his tattoo rig, Holmes, and ended up getting it refurbished and ready to go. And I ended up tattooing my carnal, my only blood brother, Antonio. But you know, it was a funny thing because I didn't like that Vato, but I knew that I had received this great gift from him. You know, he was a genuine artist. He had real raw talent. And you know, I remember being a very young kid and drawing and painting. And also I used to write. I started a journal that I still own when I was like, I want to say like 7 or 8 years old. I started writing these long stories for a 7 or 8 year old kid. And to this day, what's hilarious is I'm not good at grammar. I have no interest in it. It's the words and the connectivity and the power and the arrangement of words that I'm interested in. I'm interested in putting together a sentence that when I say it to you, you hear me, you feel me, you understand. Like, it's powerful, and it's like a metaphor for passing on energy and power. You know, it's in the way that you speak. If you're around somebody who is well spoken, articulate, and intelligent, when you walk away from that Bata, you remember him because it was the way he spoke to you, you know, and the way he arranged the sentences and the sayings that he said to you. So that's another form of art, you know, and art travels through all our veins who have that gift. And it doesn't end with a pencil and paper, Holmes, you know, like there's many different forms of art. And when you have that beautiful gift, it usually pops up in many different ways than just the one. You know, today it's a known thing. Like, you see, I watched the other night, me and my Amber laying in the rack, and I watched Django by Quentin, and I love that film. You know what I mean? And when you watch Jamie, Holmes, and you're aware, like I remember watching Jamie, you know, on In Living Color. You know, and I always, back then, I was a little kid, but I knew this Vato is serious, Holmes. He's got it for reals. Like, he's naturally gifted. And it's just, it's awesome to see somebody like that switch lanes with that kind of dignity intact, you know, not like half step on any side of the street. He like has that ability to really come and just produce art in general. So.
And you know what's funny about that is I had heard about that movie when it came out, you know, and my compadre was telling me, oh man, you got to see this movie. And I kind of blew it off just because, you know, there are many movies that I have to watch. And Isaac was telling me about it the other night. He was like, you have to check that movie out. And so I did, but you know, it's like a 3-hour movie. So I chunked it out. But,
yeah.
But what was interesting about Jamie Foxx in Django is he's not playing a comedy, but you're talking about him being able to switch lanes. Even within that movie, he switches lanes.
Oh yeah.
And I was floored by his performance in that film. I mean, I don't want to turn this into like us, you know, Siskel and Ebert thumbs up,
yeah.
but I hear what you're
John,
saying.
Yeah.
And he demonstrated how prolific of an artist he really is, man. And it was a beautiful film for sure.
I'm a huge fan of artwork, Holmes. Universally, no matter what it is, you know, you can be homeless tapping on a can on the side of the street. I'll stop, Holmes, to hear what you got going on, because I just think it's fascinating, man, and it's intriguing. And because I was blessed with the gift of art, I love to see it. I love to see it produced and performed by people in all lanes. You know, dealing with Honor Farm has been like I've said it many times, and I believe that this is the greatest piece of art that I'll probably ever produce in my lifetime. And you know, originally there was a writer going to be involved, and I was going to download this story. And when I read the first act that got sent to me, I was respectfully unhappy with it. So I ended up sitting down, and I'd never written a screenplay in my life. You know, I wrote millions of love letters to Amber, and you know, letters to the judge, stuff like that. But I had never done something like that. But I was just passionate about it, and I sat down and I ended up rewriting that first act. And when that came across to the production company, it was like, whoa, you know. And so I ended up writing the film, writing the script, you know, with the help of my partner and one other talented good friend of mine. But it's like, if you are an artist, I would say to a young person, if you have an inkling that you're an artist, don't stop at the first turn. Whatever you first grab, whether it's a paintbrush, a microphone, you know, an engraver, a tattoo machine, whatever it is, don't believe that that's the end of your rope, Holmes. Go further. You know what I mean? Go further and be open to other opportunities to produce art, because it's my strong belief that once you're blessed with that beautiful gift, it's in you, Holmes, and you have the ability to transfer it to different avenues if you're interested, if you're willing to do the work. I'm not saying that you could just, you know, jump on a surfboard and Kelly Slater the wave and then jump in the tattoo thing and you're Tim Hendricks. I'm not saying that, but you know, there's that gift that once it's in you, if you have the drive and the dedication and the discipline, you can you know, increase your ability.
And you and I have talked about this over the years. You know, what I noticed is when you went down and started to tattoo at Classic, I even told you, I said, man, your tattooing is getting better.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that, you know, that there has been an evolution in your art and your artwork, that, you know, it's clear, man, that you stay on that grind, and that there's no complacency with you, that you're constantly pushing your art to advance it, you know. Speak about that, if you would.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so here's the thing, you know, like, I always grin, you know, like if I catch like something in a magazine or something that's been said maybe on the interweb, and it's like it's in the lane of glorifying, because I don't feel that way personally. You know, it's like I remember starting to draw, starting to tattoo even, and the drawings were horrible and the tattoos were even worse, but I just loved it so much, and I knew that I did have it in me, that if I were to sit down and motivate myself every day for many, many hours, that I could develop this thing. And so for me, there's no ceiling on that, Holmes. There's no period at the end of that sentence. I will forever, like, put it to you this way: I have my Amber's office and my art studio are upstairs here in the house, and there's weeks where I mean, like, I go up early in the morning before any of my family gets up. I knock out my workout, shower, shave, clean up, and I'm up there, Holmes, for, I mean, the day. I'm up there all day. And, you know, I put a lot of artwork up on the interweb, on my social media thing, on the IG thing, but there's a whole lot more that nobody will probably ever see. And that's just Chuck studying and just trying to evolve and get better. And also, you know, I do a lot of studying and research, and I look back at tattoos that I have the privilege of looking at that a lot of people won't be able to reference. But these are tattoos that were done in the 70s. These are tattoos that are done on family members, you know, tios, primos, abuelos. My grandpa had tattoos. My dad had tattoos. I look at the aesthetics of these things, and I look at the approach in art, and I'm impressed by these things, because, you know, some of them are very raw and crude, but you also can see that, hey, this thing's like 40 years old, Holmes, and it still reads. It's something that when you see it, you feel it some kind of way. You dig what I'm saying? So yeah. It's like, for me, I always want to be able to keep going forward. You know, I'm not done, Holmes. I'm never going to be done till they put me in the dirt, you know, for me.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting? I was thinking about the trajectory of your career today, and I was thinking about your work, and you're known as a Chicano style black and gray tattooer. I mean, that's what you've been well, that's what you're known for. But
Yeah.
I was thinking about, my dad was in the Air Force, my uncle was in the Navy, two of my uncles in the Army, no, two of my uncles in the Navy, two in the Army. Um, so my dad and all my uncles were military guys, and they all had American traditional tattoos. And
Yeah.
I got to thinking, about how solid your American traditional is,
Mm.
and
Amber's smiling right now that you're saying that, because that girl, she's funny. She always do some traditional color tattoos. Do some traditional color flash. Let people know that you're not just a one how do they say it, the one trick guy, cowboy, whatever. But yeah. And here's another funny thing, Holmes. Like, if you really know what you're speaking on, and if you really have been a student of art and in the history of art, especially in the Chicano culture, it's like this, Holmes. The reality of the evolution of black and gray Chicano style tattooing, in all truth, is a lot different than what is put out today. It's like, if you were to find anybody, any grown vato above the age of like 55, right? So we're saying these people, or just say like anybody who was kicking it in the neighborhood or being tattooed in the 60s, the 70s, or even go further back, Zoot Suit Holmes 40s. None of these tattoos that you would come across would look or resemble anything like what is branded in mainstream society as Chicano tattoos, or even like neighborhood style tattoos. That's a specific style of imagery that you're speaking about. And with the influence and the power of the interweb, Holmes, that thing has been blurred so gnarly, in my opinion, that the truth of it has been like totally distorted. There's a new truth. There's a new history that's been written. But I grew up in the barrio, Holmes, in California, Califas. I was born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s and early 90s. And I know what a neighborhood tattoo looks like, because I myself wear a bunch of them. Everybody in my bloodline heavily tattooed with that style of tattooing. And, I was lucky to see that stuff being put on. So I know like the procedure and the format and how that goes down. And so, it's like a lot of those tattoos were a lot bolder, Holmes, than we'd like to fantasize and believe. None of those tats were done with like a Tinkerbell fairy feather single ultra fine needle, Holmes. Listen, the fact is that single needle, yes, single needle, one needle, right? But this is a guitar string that's being it's being like sharpened and fashioned on the ground or on a cell floor. It's sharp. It's gonna put a line, Holmes, but it was never ultra fine line. It doesn't. Look at your Theos or anybody who's older than you, Holmes, and I guarantee you that the line weight on those tattoos, it's heavy, and the shading, it's black and heavy, Holmes. That pepper, that salt and pepper, which now is like a more of a common mainstream slogan. It's because of the function of the machine, because of the handmade ink, and because of where people were at artistically at that point in time. So Chicano style tattooing has evolved massively in the tattoo industry, in the professional tattoo industry, because there is so much available to young artists to interpret, to enhance, and to grow up, which is wonderful. Amazing. Trust me, Holmes, I'm blown away by a lot of the stuff I see. I'm like, wow, that's straight up incredible, Holmes.
Yeah.
But me, myself, as a person, individual, vato, I'm only really interested in producing things that are based in that same swimming pool, Holmes, of old school neighborhood tats. So, I mean, it's not for everyone, and it's not commercialized. It's not glamorized. It's like, when I was growing up, there was vatos like Mo from Stockton who put on badass tattoos. He covered a lot of my family. Lupio from Livas. You know, I wear tattoos from this vato. So these dudes, what it was these dudes were artists and they were good and they put on tattoos. So you got them. You know what I'm saying? But nowadays it's like there's a lot of there's a smorgasbord homes of options. So it's like most people are going to be drawn to the thing that looks the most like a photograph or something they see on the interweb. You know what I mean? And that intrigues them, that entices them, and they want that on their body, which is wonderful. Everybody should wear whatever their heart desires. I'm a strong believer in that. But for me, and when somebody says, you know, do you like Chicano style cholo or neighborhood style tattoos? I say, hot dog, Holmes, I do. But what I'm speaking about is usually something a whole lot different than what they are talking about. I would like for that at some point to people to realize there's a difference. I would call it. I mean, at this point, you could even call it traditional neighborhood style because it's based in that. You know, a lot of that stuff. There's Teen Angel books that I own, the big prison books, Holmes, and there's pages in there that flat out have tiger heads that are like Sailor Jerry, heavy influence, panther heads. You know, like some of the old imagery it's very similar, and some of it is outright, you know, it's influenced by it. So the evolution of black and gray and Chicano style, neighborhood style tattoos has always been on an evolutionary scale. It's moving up. But the era that I'm really impressed and the one that I've always really dug is like 70s, 80s, and early 90s. I'm talking like 92, because there was a huge transition in Chicano culture in the 90s that not a lot of people were either there to witness or can recall properly. But things changed heavily for our people during that time period, and so did the artwork.
Yeah, I think that what you're keying in on is interesting because, you know, having the opportunity to travel, you know, in these different lowrider scenes and seeing, you know, the aesthetics of how people dress and the tattoos that they wear and put on, coming along for the ride, literally, I think that what's been labeled as Chicano style has to do more with imagery as opposed to the neighborhood style that you do and that you're talking about and that I have the privilege to wear from you.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like, and that choice is, like I said earlier, that's a choice that, you know, it's available to everybody. And I mean, it comes with cars too, Holmes. Like, it's like this. There's the $300,000 lowrider bill that we might see and be like, wow, that thing's incredible, Holmes. I mean, there's not a thing on there that isn't like shine, polished, and primed, Holmes. It's the real thing. But, and it's an amazing ride, Holmes. You see that Ramflan, you're like, dang, homie, feeding me. Wow, congrats. But, you know, me personally, like, my first car was a 1968 Impala Fastback. My Jefita helped me buy it, and it cost $300. And when I got it, it was taxi yellow. And me and my homeboys, I had my whole barrio help me sand it in the carport under my apartment, and we primered it down, you know, and it went from there. You know, the car had a chain steering wheel when I got it. I threw on the white wall, the 1-inch white walls, you know, and eventually acquired some true spokes. So for me, when even my 53, when people see it in person, they're like, I see in their eyes, it's funny because some people are you know, you see it online and it looks the effects on the phone or whatever, Holmes, the time of day you take the photos or whatever. It looks like it's a brand new paint job. This thing is like, you know, and it's not. You've been in my ride. You know what time it is. My ride is a low rider, Holmes.
Yeah.
But it's like I drive that car everywhere. You dig? Like, my family's in there. My kids are in there. It's not something that is untouchable or never sees the light of day. But I totally appreciate and understand the vatos who spend a great deal of energy and passion and time in building something that is just for show, you know, because it has its place. And it's the same thing with everything, Holmes, with tattoos, with art, with lowriders. There's a spectrum there, you know, and it's just personal preference, Holmes. It's what you're into. I myself, like I keep repeating, I'm into the old school, man. You know, like um, I wish there was a pause button on time because I would have stayed right there in the '70s and '80s, man, and just chilled out, bro. You know what I mean?
You know, it's interesting that you say that because I was talking to my wife about this the other day. That the '70s as a decade, there was so much going on.
Hmm.
Whether it was New York salsa,
Hmm.
funk music,
Yeah.
rock,
Right.
you know, there was just so much going on, man. There was so
Yeah.
much culture, no matter what you were into. And I think that that decade, historically speaking, gets kind of lost. You
Yeah.
know, it's like the 50s were happening in
Yeah.
terms of post World War II, then the 60s were the 60s,
Yeah.
and then the 80s. You know,
Yeah.
the 70s is like kind of this weird lost decade, but culturally, man, it was such a rich time,
I mean,
regardless of what.
I was a kid, you know, to be fair, I was a kid, but I soaked up that vibe of the '70s leading into the early '80s, and you know, I was a young kid sitting on the sidewalk and watching stuff go on in the early '80s, just after the '70s. So the remnants and the style and the just the way people interacted with each other, it was very still '70s based, you know, like my Thea Aunt Gay, she's all the way '70s homegirl, like when you speak to her, she's far out, man. You know what I mean? And she's a cool chick. And just the way dudes, there was like a built-in charisma that came from that era, you know, and it got handed down and then slowly dissipated as time went on. But I feel like I inhaled a lot of that, man, and I was exposed to a lot of it. And so when I think of a Vato, whether it's his dress code, facial hair, or the way he handles his hyena, I'm looking back to that era, and I try and hold on to the memories and the people in my life that I had looked and admired at that time because um, I don't know, man. It was just a cool thing, and you know, car clubs and low ride building. That was like a hot era for that. You know, like a lot of people might not realize, but you know, there was like car shops, like Raza based car shops and owned car shops in all like Santana, like everywhere, bro. San Ho, like you know, Sacramento, everywhere, homes across the state, and even in the Southwest, real heavy. Like low riding was good and well homes at that time, and a lot of the older flicas and a lot of the older like when people are really into like representing that older vibe, a lot of that stuff is derived from around that time period, you know. And there was a strong unity at that time too, Holmes. You know, like in the majority of the race there was. Um, so yeah, it was a special time, man, and I still feel drawn to that.
For sure. So you had mentioned earlier Honor Farm, and for those people who don't know what that is, can you briefly touch on what that is? We don't have to spend a ton of time talking about it, you know, but if you wanted to give the gente a little teaser.
Yeah, so technically, I'm probably not supposed to say a whole lot about that, and I haven't said anything public, you know, but I have been working on a film for over 4 years, and it's a very special piece of art, man, that I've dedicated a lot of time to, and my family, you know, everybody involved, and it's an ongoing process. Um, it's something that's when I'm able to share that with the world, Holmes, it's going to be a very prideful, special time for me because I put everything I got into this, Holmes, and I really look forward to people who dig my artwork and dig what I stand for to be able to hear this story and pull from it what I'm putting out there, you know.
Right on. Well, I mean, I've had the privilege of being on the inside and knowing and, you know, seeing a couple clips, you know, and we look forward to it and can't wait for it to come out. So we'll just leave it there, man, that it will be greatly anticipated, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, for the people who, you know, like some people have caught wind and hit me up, it's like it's you know, because of the production part of it and the promotion part of it, you know, there's contracts and there's like procedures involved in that, so you're not really supposed to be like just out and out talking about that, which I totally respect. And But believe me, Holmes, if you're breathing air on the planet Earth, you won't be able to miss this thing, Holmes. It will be everywhere you can imagine.
Right on. So one of the viewers has a question here. Says, how do you guys feel about pinta style tattoos being done in Australia and Japan and all those places?
You know, if I were to answer that, I'd say, you know, it's like I'd say that that's a carry-on sentence from earlier in the conversation. It's like, you know, globally, the Chicano culture and way of life, in my opinion, was the last. It was the last true culture to be. I don't want to say exploited. Let's just say explored. To be positive about it. So, you know, there was the time period where they went through, you know, all the different races and all the other time periods and our thing has always been our thing, and it's a very like it's a very close to chest. It's like I don't know, man. It was more of it was a private thing. We kind of lived out our lives, as you know, skipping down the street to our own thing, and we were giddy and happy about that, joyful about it. And then in the mid 2000s, because here's the thing, Holmes, like I've been a vato my whole life, you know, like I just, you know, I hit the ironing board at 8 years old and hairnetted down, and that was it. Holmes, like that was just the way it was. So I've been a vato, I would say, the majority of my life, and so I saw the transitions of that thing, and you know, I grew up in that culture and the style when the thing was happening at the tail end of it. And then in the mid 90s and late 90s, because of certain circumstances, legal situations, the culture went kind of dormant for a good, I want to say a good 8 to 10 years, man, where I remember living in society and I didn't know any other vatos, you know, that were walking around still wearing khakis, still wearing Stacy's, and society had matured and went forward with new fashions and ways of life. So even when I first began my first tattoo gig, I remember soccer moms coming in to get a butterfly, and they were like, "What is he? Like, what the hell are you wearing?" You know what I mean? This dude's wearing his pants up to his chest, looks like an old man, 50-year-old man. And then there was just this small kind of like flame I saw flickering around, you know, the state. I would see, you know, this person over here kind of, because of social media, to be honest, Holmes, it allowed me for the first time to see what was happening all over the place, and vice versa. You know, like some cat might see a photo of me get put up because of some tattoo event I did or something. They're like, wow, look at that dude. I had a tío, man, that used to dress like that. And so the vato goes home, buys a pair of khakis, and here he goes, right? So this thing kind of restarted. And a lot of the older people who had laid it down or had, you know, uh, uh, started families and became professionals, I think that they got re-involved, man, and re-passionate about, like, man, that was a beautiful time and a beautiful thing. And so it's been really cool to watch. So as far as tattooing goes, that spills out into that arena, because now all of a sudden it's like you can't turn the page on this thing, Holmes, that we all hold in our hands without seeing something that is either directly based or heavily influenced in Chicano style culture, whether it's art or fashion nowadays, you know, because that's become like a trend. It's a fashion now, straight up, you know. And the style of tattooing and all of these things are very it's very like influential, and it draws in a lot of interest from people from across the world. And I myself, you know, the first time I went to Europe, to London, I went with Demo, and I remember meeting people, and I'm talking about locals, and they had never seen a vato in their life, ever. Like, you know, white dudes walking down the street with a Pendleton button at the top, you know, and here we go, you know, that thing kicked off over there as a fashion thing. And also, you know, artwork starts to translate and transcend and get put over there. And because of other vatos, you know, in the early 90s and stuff, who went because of music purposes to Japan and Asia, you know, Toon went over there and did his thing heavy, and so that influence gets brought over there, and the seed gets dropped. So
now that it's a global thing, people ask me that almost every time I get interviewed. I did an interview a few weeks back with a dude actually from London, and he had asked me that same question. I'm always asked that. And I understand when people ask me that question now that I'm supposed to be either upset or offended. And there was a time in the very beginning when that started to happen that I was kind of drawn back by it, only because of the fact that I felt like if you were going to do that and make that choice, I thought that, man, because I have so much respect and love for our culture, you ought to at least look into the real roots of this thing before you just start slopping out something and calling it Chicano. You dig what I mean? Because to me, that's a really, really heavy label, Holmes, something that I hold really high. And if you're going to say on your social Chicano style, or I'm a Chicano style, or whatever, it's like, what vatos do you know? You dig? Like, what do you have a tattoo from me? Do you have a tattoo from any other vatos? What do you know about it? And if that's not something that you've put the effort into, maybe just pump the brakes once or twice, Holmes, before you jump off real deep in the end, because it's like any other ethnicity who has huge legacy and a lot of culture and historic, bones in this thing. It's like, we're still here, Holmes. You know what I mean? And I think that whether you're influenced or you're appreciative or you're applying tattoos from any other ethnicity, like I have many friends who do American Japanese style influence tattooing, but they play heavy homage to the people who originated that artwork. You know what I mean? And they understand like where that comes from and stuff like that. So I just think that whenever you step off into someone else's culture, like even me myself, when I travel, I'm mindful of they have their own culture, and I should respect that. You know what I mean? So that's my opinion. I think that's fine, Holmes. You tat whatever you want to tat, but do a little homework, man, and maybe figure out like what type of material you should be checking out, and just show some respect is all. Show a little class.
When I travel to go to these events, I sometimes get asked to do lectures and workshops. And and this always comes up in the Q&A. People ask me about cultural appropriation. And what I tell them is I say, look, the aesthetic, the clothes is only one superficial part of Chicano culture. You're talking about deep roots that go back thousands of years, that have this incredible history and legacy, and a struggle in the United States. Mm-hmm. And just because you're putting on something that was internet inspired doesn't necessarily constitute Chicano culture. So it's a very, very delicate dance, because you're talking about people's lives. You're talking about how people live, the struggles that have come with that, the classism, the racism, all of the shit that our people have had to endure historically, and I think that people that are hating on it is because now people around the world, because of social media and the internet, are able to latch on to the fashion sensibilities of it. So what I try to tell people is, dress like you want to dress, express yourself how you want, you have that right. But just know that if you call it Chicano, man, Cortez's and Dickies are only the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, I would go with that too, man. But it's, humanity has evolved, and there's no, I guess where I'm going with the statement is like, okay, so you and I are similar age. So it's like, growing up, Holmes, if you had khakis on the white tee and you weren't from that thing, that was a real problem. That was going to be a problem right then and there, Holmes. There was no impersonating, no such thing as throwing on the Saturday costume and going to kick it. That didn't happen. And I'm glad those days are gone. Because I've changed my view on things, and I don't really dig violence, but it's like it's like if I throw on a Indian headdress and went to go to a barbecue, people were like, "What the hell are you doing, Chooks?" You know what I mean? Right. It would be like it'd be ridiculous. So when I first started
seeing that people were doing that type of stuff, I felt kind of similar to that. I was like, whoa, that's crazy, Holmes, you know? But I also believe that it's everybody's right, like you said, to express themselves, and that's totally cool and fine. And I myself evolve. You know, we were talking about my art evolving. I evolve as a human being every day. You know, and something that I may have felt very strongly about as a teenager or a young 20-year-old man. A lot of those things have changed, and I've seen a different perspective on things, which I'm grateful for because it's enhanced my life experience and my ability to find, you know, happiness, joy, and success, stuff like that. But yeah, you know, I just think that in any situation in life, I'm a firm believer that, you know, respect is everything, man. You know, whatever room you walk into, and I myself have walked into many different rooms that I would have never, ever in a million years, Holmes, thought that I would walk in there or be invited to sit at those tables. But when I do walk through that door, I know two things right off the tip, Holmes, the top. Number one, I am who I am, and I know who I am and where I come from. And the other thing is that I respect people, and I wanna always be looked at as a respectful gentleman. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter what situation you find yourself in life. A good footnote to just about anything that you get yourself entangled in or involved in is just show respect and a little bit of class, Holmes, and you'll be fine. You'll be just fine.
100%. You know, I don't think I ever told you this story, but when I was in Japan, I had the opportunity to cruise with this guy who had a beautiful Monte Carlo. I mean, the name of the car is called Heartbreak Shot. And the owner is this guy named Shun from Confianza Car Club. And a couple of years after the show, he posted that the car was for sale. And so I hit him up on the DM and I said, you're selling your car? Why are you selling your car? Because, I mean, the car was a show quality car that he was driving.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, I love Chicano culture so much that I signed up for a study abroad, Japan to Mexico. I'm going to go study archaeology in Mexico. I'm going to do this intensive Spanish course for a year, and I'm selling my car to do it. That's how much I love it. And that blew me away. That absolutely floored me.
You know, hearing that story you just told about that young man, like that's heavy, Holmes. And that's I mean, shoot, man, that's like, you couldn't do more to pay homage or respect. That's heavy, you know. There's cats out there that I've come across on the interwebs. There's a cat in Japan. I call him Night, but I think it goes by like Night's the Funk or Funk.
Night the Funk stuff. Yep.
Simon, Davato. He's a huge admirer of the culture, and he's a very sweethearted dude. I've actually met him at Chicano Park Day a few years ago.
Yep.
And he's a sweetheart dude, Holmes, and you know, and I could tell that he was kind of a little bit uncomfortable when he had somebody approach me first to take a photo with him, and I know that he was kind of like about maybe how is this dude gonna, but he was a sweetheart dude, hella respectful. Yeah. And since then, you know, the cat will hit me on the interwebs every now and again with a message, and I'll write him back when I catch it. Yeah. And people like that, man, it's like, bienvenido, you know what I mean? You know, because if you grew up in a barrio, Holmes, in a Chicano barrio, there were other homies in there that were like, you know, there's a white vato from my barrio, Holmes, but he spent his entire life, day to day, deeply embedded in our way of life, in our thought process. Yep. He paid homage to our gente and our ancestors, and he earned his place there. You know, it was like he probably got teased his whole life, come on, Miklo or whatever. But he, in my opinion, you know, the vato lived a Chicano lifestyle, and that. Hey, Holmes, you know, I don't have no harsh words.
You know what? Before I sign off, you know, I didn't get a chance to, and I really wanted to. I wanted to give a heavy homeboy shout out to my good pal and partner, Rick Manuel Holmes. He's out there. He goes on the handle right here on Instagram as Pistolero Rick. And that's the vato that built my 53. And I made friends with that cat through Tim Hendricks and one of his friends. And we ended up becoming great friends. And you know, we did that thing old school style. He has a shop there at his pad that's so 70s, Homes, it will blow your wig back. And I spent a lot of time there. I barbecued with his family. I actually was at his wedding. These are very good people, Holmes, and close friends of mine. They're dear friends. And I just want to make sure that because people ask me all the time, who built your ride, you know? And I'm like, Rick, man, Rick. And if you're interested, get at him. He's got a club, Holmes, Sunset Clásicos. And him and all his homeboys, all his camaradas, these are good men, dude. And they're heavy in the game, man. Like the builds that those vatos put off they're mind blowing. Like my 53 Holmes, it's turnkey. That car, I'll drive it to Mexico right now and not blink an eye. You know, he's the real deal, Holmes, and his heart's in it, you know. So as far as low riding goes, when people ask me, you know, where should I go or who should I hit? Hey, Holmes, he's in Santana, right down there in SoCal. And if you can get in with him or you're interested in getting something going, hit that vato up, Holmes. He's the real deal. Tell him Chuck sent you.
Right on, man. Right on. Well, you know, I mean, just in wrapping this up, I mean, you and I go back like 5 or 6 years now, and just, you know, keeping with that old school style vibe and that neighborhood style. You know, I want everybody to know that, you know, I was looking to get my prayer hands done, my clappers, these right here, and I was at the Bay Area Tattoo Convention. And I kept circling around, and every booth had that reference up there. And I was like, no. And off the beaten path, kind of in the back, I saw Chuco. And as soon as I saw him, I said, that's the guy I want to do it, man. Because, you know, I was born in 1973, you know, and that old school neighborhood style, man, you know, it was very obvious that you captured that's very much who you are, and you walk with that, and the presence and the grace and the style and the elegance that you maintain by staying true to those roots, man, that's...
Hey, homie, that's a heavy compliment. I really appreciate those kind words, John. I do, brother. And you're right, man. We got you and I 5 years going on friends, Holmes, and I appreciate your brotherhood heavy, man, because whether it's, you know, the dedication to the tattoos, which you know, putting on your back piece was an honor and a privilege, or it's just the support, Holmes, like that to me is Chicano, like that brotherhood, that connection between two vatos, or it could be anybody, but it's like that brotherhood is heavy for me. I love that, Holmes. That's what keeps me going, because it's like I don't know. It's the heart of our gente, Holmes. You know what I mean? That unity and that looking out for each other, Holmes, and support, it's big. And I don't always get to support everybody that I'd like to, but in the future, I look for opportunities to do that. You know what I mean? And if somebody out there wanted something from me or needed some kind of help or something like that, hit me, man, because a lot of people they're kind of spooked to ask me questions or for one reason or another, and it's like, hey, I'm gente, Holmes. I'm Raza. You know what I mean? You can ask me something, and I'll do my best to answer you or help you out the best I can. And it's just like each one to each one, Holmes, you know, and pass it along. And that's like that's bare feet of our people, Holmes.
For sure, man. Well, Chuco, I won't keep you from your family any longer. I really appreciate it. I know that everybody appreciates it. I know that you get pulled in 5 million directions in any moment, man. So yeah. From the bottom of my heart, I truly, truly appreciate you doing this for me and for us. And I look forward to all of this stuff mellowing out, man, so that we can see each other again in person. And
it'll happen, Holmes.
You know, continue where we left off, man. It's always a pleasure and it's always an honor. So give my best to Amber and the boys.
Simone, I will.
Your beautiful grandbaby.
Oh, man, Holmes. Oh, man, my James. I'm telling you what, that's the first thing I'm doing, Holmes. I'm hot telling it over to that vato, man. It's that's been a real hard thing to swallow, because Mija's out in, as you know, she's military, and they got her out in Poland. So I haven't seen him in months, and it's a tiny tear in my heart, Holmes, to not be able to have that little vato around me. But my day will come, and I'm a patient man, so. Gracias, though, for bringing that up, though. And yeah, thank you for having me, man. And I'm glad we got to get down and throw a rap. So cool.
For sure, Chuco. Thank you so much, man. Have a good night. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Okay. Right. Good evening, everybody. Ratos.
Thank you. We got kicked off.